Now we're going to get down to what things you're going to need in order to actually really conduct the majority of your due diligence. This again is going to be a list of initial documents that you're going to probably want to request in order to go through and take a look at what the existing owner and the seller has already got in place that you might inherit and or you might need to evaluate to see if it's something that you want to proceed with. So we're going to look at 2 or 3 different types of businesses, because the type of business that you might acquire or purchase is going to dictate what kind of information or documents that might be available to you, or ones that you would want to take a look at. So this first one we're going to look at is a fixed location. Now again, the fixed location could be a retail type of store where you have a space that's being leased that the business is operating in currently. It could be a restaurant, could be a retail store, could be a hair salon, could be even an office building type of a situation, or it could be even like a commercial building or a warehouse somewhere where you're at a location and you have a certain amount of operational things that are going on there that you would have. So this list again may or may not apply to every business, but it's a pretty good list that would apply to most, especially if you have a lease and you have employees. So I'll just go through this real quickly and explain the type of information you'll need. Now, most sellers are going to want to release information to you based on your level of commitment to them. So you'll probably have to sign or put together and submit to the seller some form of an LOI or a letter of intent. Now, the letter of intent could outline your intention to make an offer on the business contingent on your review of some of the significant documents to base an offer on. So that might be a requirement before the seller's going to release much of this information to you. And again, because you requested at the early stages of your due diligence, they may not release all this information because it's very proprietary, and it's really something that they may not want to make available to you until they know for a fact that you are serious about buying the business. So we'll talk about the stages you would go through. So the kind of information you would request would be financial records. So what kind of financial records? Any that they have. Any financial records, whether it be profit and loss statements that they've prepared themselves or through their own software like QuickBooks. What you really want to ask for, though, is tax returns. Because if you can ask for up to 3 years worth of tax returns typically are going to have the most, I guess you'd say, the most legitimate information on them, because if they're reporting it to the federal government or they're reporting it to the state, they're probably going to be more truthful in what they report. So the tax returns should be the documents that you're really looking for, although they may have other spreadsheets, or they might have other profit and loss statements that they've prepared. You're also going to want to look at a lease agreement. So again, if you have a fixed location where there's an ongoing obligation to the lease, part of the benefit of buying the business is the location that you're going to be able to operate out of. You want to know what the terms of the lease are. You want to know whether it's transferable. You want to know whether you can assume that lease and continue to operate on it, and whether there's going to be any increases in the lease, or whether there's going to be what the renewal terms are, and those types of things, because you need to know what's coming down the road. Then also you're going to want to have a list of equipment. So what are all of the different pieces of equipment that the seller is going to be transferring ownership to potentially? And you want to try to not only get a list of it, but you might want to get serial numbers on certain ones. And you also want to make sure that that they own it outright. In other words, that there's no liens on any of the equipment or any of the assets, because if you were to acquire the assets but find out that there's a lien from some other obligation that's on the equipment, then the seller would need to make sure that that's resolved first before you would buy those assets. You also want to try to get some sort of a market value on that equipment too. Not so much what did the seller pay for it, what is it worth right now if you were to go out in the open market and resell it. That's really what you're buying, is what the market value is. Also the same thing with furniture and fixtures. Furniture and fixtures could be the cash register, it could be the It could be the display cases, it could be the merchandising racks, it could be, you know, other things that come with the business that aren't necessarily equipment, but they have value all the same and things that you would benefit from. You want to get a list of those, and you want to have values on those as well. You want to take a look and see, is there inventory involved in this type of a business? If it's a retail business, there's probably inventory. If it's a restaurant or a food service type of business, there's probably some stock that they may have. Some of it might be perishable stuff, and other stuff might be stuff that's non-perishable that they may have stock of. You want to know what the current inventory levels are. And again, when you're getting an inventory level from in a retail environment where they might have certain products that they have purchased with the intent of reselling them, you want to find out what inventory they have, what the current value of that inventory is, the wholesale value of it is, and you really want to know whether that inventory is current or whether it's something that's got a good chance of being resold at the best price, or whether it's outdated, or whether it's faded, or it's damaged. You want to know what's there. Customer list.